Welcome back to Girl in the Middle. I'm your host, Mariah Krystal. Today is a special episode. I'm letting producer Steven take over and also get to introduce my husband.
Oh, that's where I introduce myself.
Yes.
What's going on? My name is Mark Williams.
So yes, husband. So today is Black Love Day, which I'm super excited about. And tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
Well, hello, listeners. As always, Steven here. Happy day before Valentine's Day. We're going to talk a little bit about love, relationships, my favorite thing to discuss. So let's set the scene. How long have you two been together?
Oh, wow. Going on 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. See? Thought I didn't even know.
Going on 4 years, but we met 5 years ago. And we dated or got to know each other for like a year and some change before we actually got into a relationship, which most people would be like, oh my God. But our talking stage was actually really long. And I'm actually really thankful for that because we were both in like a transitional period. So it worked out well.
So talking stage, let's define what that means, because it's kind of like the age-old question, like what does it mean for someone to hook up? Like what does talking stages mean to you? And then also going back, I feel like I'm wearing my Barbara Walters hat. Transitional, what did you mean?
Yeah, so in 2020, we actually met during the pandemic. We met May 15th of 2020. Online, I slid in his DMs. And then we met in person a month later, but transition. So I was career-wise, I was in a new role. I had a lot more responsibility. And I also was recently out of a long-term relationship. So just really, I started a new life in end of 2019 going into 2020 and just trying to find, like, for lack of better words, like myself, find out like how I show up at work, or what is it to be by myself? What does that look like? That's like the transitional period that I was in. Now, what about you?
I was all over the place. I got really sick February of 2020. Mardi Gras, COVID time. So like a lot of stuff was like going on. But in terms of that, like, just trying to find myself. I had just gotten promoted as well in my job. So trying to figure out where I wanted to go, like literally, like I felt like, I was an adult, but not really an adult yet. And just transitioning out of a whole bunch of just like old habits, and kind of like into a maturation. It was like legit like a maturation process, that I was going through at that time with everything.
You both are in these new roles. You're both trying to find yourself, and then you start talking and dating shortly thereafter. Kind of paint me a picture about how long that time was before you really started to connect.
So we met May 15th, and then June 15th we met in person. We had our first date. We had a wine. We had a little ghetto wine tasting at my apartment because everything was shut down. So from there, we like hung out a lot. We started to get to know each other, and we were really in like a little bubble. So it was just him and I for a while, like for months, just getting to know each other, doing little things like that. Because remember, the world was shut down, and just like learning to spend time with each other. And then probably around like 6 months, I started to meet your friends.
Yeah.
Right. I started to meet like his really close friends, and then vice versa. And February of 2021, we went to dinner. He took me to dinner. Was it the day before Valentine's Day?
I think it was the day after.
The day after. It was something. It wasn't on Valentine's Day. And I didn't want.
It was February 13th, Black Love Day.
Hello. And I didn't want to ask. And then he just didn't say anything about it. But that to answer your question, around that time is when I was just like, okay, I know this is my person. And I remember, did I say it at dinner? I said,
you said something of the sort, yeah.
Yeah. Like I was very like, okay, I think this is right. This is my person. But we didn't actually start dating officially until what? September, but
21. Yeah.
Yeah, but by like around that time, we were exclusive. It was just us.
You had a very long courting period.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
had this kind of, and I don't want, oh, also producer's note, is anyone clicking the little thing on the back of the,
Oh, that's me.
please don't do that with lots of love. So that will stay in. So I want to go back to a couple of, everything you just said, but specifically about finding yourself. Maybe this is just my bias and opinion coming in, and listeners, feel free to get in line for the people that are trying to cancel me when I open my mouth. But here we are. I feel a lot of people go from relationship to relationship to relationship and don't necessarily take the time to, okay, I've got some agreements, so that's all that matters.
Same.
But I'm curious what, from your point of view, maybe you've done that in the past or maybe you haven't. Like, why is that so important for people?
In terms of
and is it
taking time to like for yourself and whatnot?
Yeah, figure out who you are and
yeah. So that's something that I was doing. Like it was all the time. I was habitual with it, like just going from situation to situation to situation, and it just wasn't fair to people, and that's what I was learning too. And necessarily like not fair to myself either, because I needed like time to really figure out what I wanted as well. But I was more so thinking about like the people I was dealing with, like like I was like in this long-term relationship where it ended, and I was just like jumping from one thing to the other, and I never really fully, I guess, like healed from it. Like it was like never really ended until like I had to like sit with myself and say like, nah, bro, I can't do this anymore. Like it's not healthy. Like, but after a while, through meeting like Mariah and whatnot, the one thing I do like give her credit for is like, just like her intention. Like oftentimes I would meet women, and, I would feel them out and whatnot, and just didn't click for me. And I don't know what was that exactly like was missing, but I just didn't feel it. But in my mind, like as I started to like look further into it, I'm like, it wasn't clicking because I wasn't allowing it to. And that's where I had to like kind of just like flush everything out and kind of say to myself, all right, what is it that you absolutely want? Because once upon a time, like I used to tell the joke, like you could like legit like breathe wrong, and I'd just like stop talking to you. It's not, it's like the most unbecoming thing, but like it was real. Like that's just like how I was. It's just all right, nah, I'm good. And then like literally just having to make sure I make the time and like really understand like what it is that I wanted and didn't want, what I liked and didn't like, and what were like the deal breakers for me. What like there was like no return from.
Now, on that kind of dating with intention checklist, did you write it down? Did you, test out the waters with a bunch of people? It sounds like you did. And I teased. And then be like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. What was kind of and I want to throw up by saying this, what was your dating strategy?
I don't think I wrote anything down. I just go like just from like feel and like memory, like, no, I remember this. I just always just went by like feeling. So I would meet people. All right, well, like this is cool. Like first I thought like me and her were just going to be cool. Like she was just like a good friend.
Me too. I was like, oh, he's fine. He's cool. That's it. Like, it was like, he's like, we had a great time, but I was just like, I don't see this turning into anything. And then it just started like really progressing from there.
Yeah. And I was like, I got to figure some shit out.
Yeah. Like this is getting serious. The funny thing is, like, talking about strategy, I didn't have a dating strategy, but I did write down exactly what I was looking for in my next partner. And I was very big on like, God, if this is what I'm looking for, external and internal. I said it in our wedding vows, like I prayed for a very specific man, 6 feet minimum, brown skin, beard, dress well. Like that was the external stuff. And then internally, I prayed for someone that was ever evolving. I was like, please, all the bad stuff, all his flaws, please make them not weird stuff or crimes. Like, let him not be a liar, a killer, rapist, all those things, like let's not have those. But whatever he is working through, let that be something that's like ever evolving, someone who's loving, who cares for me. Like I was very, very specific. And going back to that when we went on a date, like around Valentine's Day of 2021, before we were together, I remember being at dinner, like, I don't remember exactly what I said to you, but I was just basically like, I don't think I said, I know this is it, but it was like, essentially that was the conversation. And I basically said that I like prayed for someone like you. And I got really emotional around that time.
And you vocalized that to him.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that feel in that moment?
For me,
Both of you.
I was like, oh shit. Like just because, I knew that I was beginning to like develop feelings for her, and then just kind of like realize like, all right, bro, like what do you want? Because now I didn't want to like fall into the same kind of like spiral where, I catch feelings for someone, then all of a sudden like something happens and I don't like it, and then I just like I go by like the saying like hurt people hurt people. So I try like to just like make sure like what I was like developing was true, and it just wasn't out of just like, like lust or just like something new. Like I wanted to make sure that it was what I thought it was. And yeah, it was good after that. Like I just really took some time to like figure some things out. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh yeah, this could work.
What he didn't say is how he was running around telling all his family and friends how about this girl that he met when never before had he told anybody about anyone before.
Yeah, it felt different. So it started with my friend Pam, and then like a couple other people, and just all right, yeah, like I don't know, like I think this feels good. And it was like I was fearful at first because it's just like, like I try and be mindful of like who I bring around and whatnot. But once they met her and they became cool with her, and they kind of like sat me down, like, all right, bro, like don't mess this up. And I said, I'll try not to. I haven't tried, like I haven't done it yet, so I'm good.
What the hell you mean yet?
So in the last couple of podcast episodes, make sure you check all of them out. We talked a little bit, Mariah, I don't want to quote you, but this is a paraphrase, or misquote you. This is a paraphrase that, in this podcast journey of yours, you want to really dive into the professional development in the professional world, but also your personal life is tied symbiotic to that. So when we think about kind of finding a person and, trusting your gut, and you can sort of relate this back to, at the end of the day, it's a partnership, it's a business type of experience. Like when you are dating or kind of navigating the early stages of a relationship, are you going back to like, oh, I learned this skill set in work, and this is kind of how I'm applying it to my brain?
Yes, kind of. More of like things I had to stop doing. So I have been managing people for 10, 11 years, and I've had to like realize I'd come home or like get off work and be like still in problem solving management mode instead of being a listener. And being attentive. So that was one of the things, like, okay, come out of work mode and like just be you and not manager you, is something that I had to actually like learn, because we would be having a conversation, whether it was about work or something personal, and I'm like, well, this and this and this and that, instead of just being in the conversation, being present.
How did you do that? Like, I think it's very difficult to turn off work mode at times. And I'm curious if there has to be somebody listening to this podcast, me, when I edit it back, who's like, how do you do that though? Because sometimes it's difficult, right? And it sounds like you both were starting in new roles that were a lot of work. Also, this is during the coronavirus global pandemic. How do you kind of pivot versions of yourself?
I mean, I think trial and error, because sometimes he'd be like, yo, I don't want you to solve this. I just want you to just listen, or I'm just expressing something to you. Therapy, for sure. What else? What would you say?
So I'm the type, like, I just need a minute for like everything when I first get in. And she just, she wasn't getting with it.
Our personalities we have very similar and different personalities at the same time. So like, because of his voice issue, he's like real like even keel right now. And as a person, he's like, you're not quiet.
Not quiet. I'm quiet until like it's time not to be.
Yeah, like everybody in my whole family and people that meet him like swore he didn't speak for like this is how he is most of the time. And you know me, I'm loud. I'm like all over the place, and I'm like also like very loving and like full out. So basically, like, and I'll let him speak on this about like work, right? Like him and the job that he does is a lot more difficult and a lot more intensive, like mentally and physically. And so when we were still like dating, and even like when we started to live together, I'm hey, I'm excited to see you, da da da, and like you are my relaxation when I like you're my decompression from work. And he was like, okay,
You're stressing me out.
yeah, what? I need a minute. And once he got his minute, then he's super loving, all of this stuff. But that initial like transaction, or that initial like encounter is the word I want to use, was like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean you need a minute? What do you mean you need to like decompress? And I'm like, we are decompressing, and our decompress is not the same at all.
Yeah.
At all.
I'm like, geez, I'm like, why are you so excited? Like, this is insane. Like, I mean, call a spade a spade. I didn't get enough hugs when I was younger either. So it's just like, yeah, like,
That's really it.
like,
That's so
bro,
weird. I don't get them now, and I feel like I'm reverting the opposite way. So
I'm like, please, ma'am, like, just give me like 5 minutes. I promise you, I like you. I promise you, like, you're the one, but I need like 5 minutes to myself. But like, after we went to a therapist, like during that transition when we were like engaged and whatnot, and we kind of like developed a plan where like, either I sit in the car and kind of just like flush everything out, or like I'll just go in and like I'll say hello, and then I'll go and kind of like flush everything out and then come back down and kind of like have that conversation about how our day was and things like that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
How long were you in therapy together? We can cut any of this out, but did it help? Like, as you kind of navigated that, because it's hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
It did, especially for me. So like 2020, 2021, like that was again like my transitional period and where I kind of accepted therapy and whatnot. I did like have one therapy session, then like people would like I just couldn't get an appointment. I guess like because maybe during the COVID era,
COVID, everyone was going,
everyone was
say
just
it
like,
with
oh,
me,
you know what?
insane, myself included.
Yeah, like, oh, I think I need to talk to somebody. But then with the joint therapist, I actually like took her away and did my own individual sessions, and I found out like a lot of things about myself that I just really didn't pay attention to. Like I felt it, but it's like, all right, it's just a moment in time. But then it just kept on, like, some of these things just kept on coming back. And, you know, you do something once or twice, it's a mistake, but, 3, 4, 5 times, it becomes a habit. So, like, noticing the habits that I had and breaking them. And then in terms of like the relationship that, we have together, like living together is,
It's definitely a transition.
Let's talk about it. There are people who are in the same boat. I'm not, but
So there's a couple things I want to like tie in with the therapy. We are very much so advocates for therapy. Like he has a therapist, I have one, and then we have one together. And the thought process behind that was like, we've never been married before.
I was twice. I'm fucked.
Go what?
I was like, get the rosé, girls. What's happening here?
No. But no, we've never been married before, and we've really never done this before. First of all, this is also our first time on Earth, doing this whole human thing.
Yep.
And just being able to like have some guidance. And I swear we were in therapy, couples therapy for several months. We stopped recently because, he hurt his voice box. So, forcing him to talk a lot, even like with this, but, we stopped for a little bit only because of that. But we ended up like going in like with these like preconceived notions about each other, about the way the relationship was supposed to go, about work, and started to like really like loosen up, and it became easier. What I wanted to say about the work transition is a lot of times people don't understand how intertwined work is with their identity and their personality. And so like I said, he has a very serious job. It's not like all love, cakes, and fun. And so this demeanor is how he has to show up in the world consistently. So when he comes home, it takes him like time to decompress. And like I said earlier, for me, it's not like that. And so learning to then also live together. For work, he goes out like 3, 4 times a week. I'm fully remote. And if you can guess who the neat freak is and who's the messy one, who do you think it is, Stephen?
Well, I do want a job, so he's the neat one.
Absolutely. The neat freak. And so
I've seen your Google Drive, Mariah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a mess. He is a neat freak, and cleaning kind of relaxes him. So when he does work from home, he'll like work, he'll take a break and clean. For me, that is not a thing. Like, that is like, no, this is not relaxing. This is not subtle. This is not like, ooh.
I don't do it to relax. I do it because it needs to be done. Now, the difference is, hold the phone, don't hang it up. The difference is that when I finish cleaning, it's like, I don't have to worry about this anymore. But I make the time to do it because I don't want to do a bigger clean later on. So I'll clean like floor by floor. That way I don't have to clean the entire house for 2 days.
So you see, it relaxes him, it excites him. Me, a little bit of the Tasmanian devil. Come take a break, I'll make some food, da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm going to clean up, but I'm going to clean up like at the end of my day. End of my day is the beginning of his coming home to like decompress. So imagine coming home and your kitchen looks like somebody like ran through it. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to clean that up. And he's like, what the is going on? And again, going back to work, like having a stressful job, coming home, and like if your decompression is peace or your way to relax is, coming home to a clean home, and you have to wait several hours till your home is cleaned, or you just do it yourself, which most likely he'll just start cleaning himself.
There's times that I would come in and clean and she didn't even realize that she made a mess. Like she says, the Tasmanian devil, I say a bull in a china shop.
I think work from home gets less respect than like when you go outside.
Oh, 100%.
It does.
1,000%.
It does.
And it wasn't until like he really started seeing like some of the things that I like actually do and how I spend my day, that he like understood, like, okay, she ain't sitting around, like, she's not just sitting around doing anything, and there's a lot going on. And so like he was able to be a lot more understanding. But at first he was like, you've been here all day. What is on in here?
And the thing with that is because I can't set the same expectation for her that I do for myself. So like she says, I work from home. When I work from home, I kind of like take a break. I'll tidy up and whatnot. I can't have that same expectation for her because it's my thing. Like that's my part of my personality. That's part of how I do things. I can't project that onto her. It's not fair. So, I kind of like give some grace with that.
Yeah. Yes. No, for sure. I think that's definitely giving grace. That's something that we had to learn. And then you talk to people a lot at work, but my jobs have always to talk to people constantly. He could be doing work in quiet for like several hours and maybe have like a 10-minute conversation. I'm literally talking to people from the time I like log in to the time I sign off. And I'm either talking to them, I'm leaving voice notes, I'm answering messages. So I'm like going, going, going. And my brain is exhausted at that point.
Yeah, bro, it used to stress me. I'm like, please pay attention. But then, like at the same time, like, I guess there's something with like creatives, like they're just like scatterbrains from what I'm learning. Like, you're a creative.
Sometimes, which is a reminder for me to slow down because sometimes I'm doing so many things, and I got AD, I have ADD, like I'm all over the place. So those moments of when it's just like to slow down. And so I want to like circle this in on us working really separately, but then also like being a couple. One thing about him is because he's so like rigid and structured in a lot of ways, it helps me to align a lot better, right? Like being around him, I've like learned to be earlier, and like doing things that has like calmed my anxiety. Or he'll see me now, more recently, he'll see me in my head and he's like, what are you going through? And I'm like, I need to do this, that, this, and that. And he's like, just do the one thing, just get emotion. So us being so different in that way has really helped. And then for me, getting him to relax.
Well,
Like,
that was one of the questions my follow-up question was like kind of knowing all this, how do you, like complement each other? And I'm going to flip it, throw it down, reverse it, whatever that song is.
oh,
How do you show up for each other?
ooh. Okay, so what I'm learning, so he is very acts of service, and affirmations is really what gets him going. So I can like clean up the entire kitchen and it will be like, oh my God, like this is the best thing ever. For him, he caulked my entire office, like the basement, so like no bugs would get through. And I hate bugs. I'm terrified of bugs. And I appreciate it. But do you think I'm going to have the same reaction as if you give me some flowers? Absolutely not.
You should be excited. These are things that are necessary.
But you see how like he's very excited about those things. And that was something that
You should be excited too.
I'm excited. Those are things that learning, or even to say to him, hey, I want to purge the house. And let me be very, very clear. I don't have to do any of this work by myself. He is very much so full in. I'm going to clean with you. I'm going to do all these things and showing up for acts of service. For me, it's being very loving and taking time to have these type of conversations, getting to know each other, date nights. He's amazing at planning dates. He makes fun of me. My sister does. Everybody makes fun of me, but I work very hard with him around. I don't really have to do much of anything. I'm thankful to him. I live a very soft life. If I ask him to do anything, he does it. I don't carry bags in the airport. I just don't have to do much. And so because of that, I'm learning to be more understanding of like the little quirks of his because I don't really got to do nothing.
You're welcome.
I
Talk
do
about
think
love.
carrying bags in the airport, it deems a thank you. So I encourage that.
You do.
Get to walk through the airport ditzy and just love, like just like in my own world.
I have passports. I have the booking information.
Mind you, he would never trust me to like.
No, absolutely not.
So he'll say it like that, but he will. He's like, oh no, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
So I don't have to worry about any of those things. But that's just like how our life is too. I don't have to worry about a lot of things. And so I think the compliment of making sure that one is very important to me, making sure that he feels loved and showing him what love looks like. We joked about him not getting a lot of hugs as a kid, but really, what does it look like to be loved? What does it look like to have a peaceful home? And what does it look like to have a really stressful day at work and want to be by yourself and your wife not freak out about it?
Yes. Because then, so I had to sit down and have a conversation with her about exactly what I do and like kind of like the stuff that I see. And then she had a better understanding. Like just sometimes I just become like so standoffish because I just have to like separate myself from a lot of like the work that I do, because it's just like having to consistently like have like be on. It takes a while to turn off getting back home. But it's conversation that, we had to have, because honestly, like it was me. Like I just shut down. Like I won't have a conversation. I'll solve things on my own because that's how I've always done it. But then realize
That's how you are at work. You
yes,
solve things on your own for the most part.
but then part of the lesson that I learned, like in my transformation, my transition, whatnot, was it's just like it's not all about me, just like what my emotions are. Now I have like someone else that, I'm adversely affecting, and how am I making her feel? And kind of like being conscious of that, and, making sure that even if she's the one who initiates the conversation after a while, like kind of like releasing and kind of like really expressing myself instead of, remaining closed in.
Do you feel better?
Oh yeah. It does feel better.
Mariah, how do you go about navigating a roadblock in your relationship?
For me, the manager coming out in me, he would say things like, oh, this is the way that I am. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm not coming out at this from a wife or girlfriend or fiance, whatever my title was at the time. I'm coming at this from, no, I coach and manage people all the time. This is not the way that you are. This is something that you haven't dealt with yet. And so when managing through conflict, I wasn't trying to hear him really. I was just like, you made an absolute statement and you need to turn that around. Going back to what he said earlier, I'm used to working in silos. I'm used to XYZ, or this is just the way I am. And I'm immediately, no, it's not. You have to come outside of yourself, So I initially went into coaching mode, but then I'm also the person still being affected. So it's teetering back and forth between those two roles. And I also always wanted to solve things immediately. And like work, there's a problem, you want to solve it, you want to know what the solution is, you want to know what the thing is that you're gonna do to get over it. And it doesn't happen always that quickly when you're in relationships, especially when you have so many other things and factors weighing in on like how you act throughout the day.
Well, another question on that for you. So, and you use the example of like if Marquise comes with you like a statement of like I'm XYZ. Like, what happens if you realize you're in the wrong?
I apologize. Tell the truth. Don't I apologize, or do I not?
No, she does.
Okay, I do, because I like to apologize. There's something. I also tell him a lot of times I'm alone all damn days. Me and the puppy. I work from home. He's out for most of the days. I don't really often need alone time because I have it daily. Guaranteed I'm going to be by myself throughout the day often. He doesn't get that. He goes out. He has to see people, has to do all of these different things. He's around people constantly. And if he is alone, he's like super in work mode. He doesn't get to decompress. So sometimes we talked about him taking a minute before he can like decompress or coming in the house or whatever, and me not bombarding him with all these things like we need to do this and da 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 and all that other stuff. There would be times where I just be so excited to see him that like I would rush him with all these things, and he would just be like, okay, 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 instead of saying I need a minute. So if he didn't pull my card and be like, hey, remember you said you was going to give me X amount of time, sometimes I would try my best to like, I'm sorry, you know, do you need a minute? Am I bombarding you with too much stuff? And we're not talking about he needs hours and hours. He take like 15, 20 minutes to himself. And then he'd be like, what's up? Da da da, hugs and kisses, blah, blah, blah. But for me, like adjusting to that and then also trying to be accountable for it has definitely been a process because we come from two different worlds in that aspect of like work and then also family background.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing everything to stop myself from referencing Sex and the City, a Carrie Aiden moment, but season 4, if you know, you know. What I would love, some rapid fire questions when you kind of think about past, present, and future of relationships. So if somebody is getting ready, they're like, you know, I'm just in this new role, I'm really excited, but I also want to start dating. What is the advice you would give them?
Do you have the time? Like, do you really have the time?
Do you have the time? I'll yes and that and say, do you want to make the time?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because it takes time to get to know someone and to explain the position that you're in and like how they support you. There is something quickly I want to say, like quick story. So when he met me, I was making a lot of money. I was in like a high role and I'm just used to going. And we were also in the pandemic, but I was working on a lot to keep myself sane. We didn't live together. So I kind of turned those things off when he came over. Then fast forward, we're living together. I get the new role and it's completely different. I'm making even more money and I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. I got all this free time. You know, things are going great, but I end up, okay, this is not for me. And you can start seeing me show up differently, my personality. Like I no longer want to be at this place. I don't like this place. And I'm starting to become very miserable.
And it's
and
dripping into your life outside
yeah,
the office.
because, you know, I'm obsessed and madly in love and like, okay, happiness comes through the door. And now I'm expecting you to turn that on so that I can be happy because work is not bringing me joy. And then my dear sweet Sam, my lab was getting sick and passing away. So now I'm like looking for joy from you. And you're coming out of a very difficult job. And it's just, yeah, girl, I could be here for you, but I need a moment. And when you're in a state like that, you're not willing or seeing that, okay, hey, you need a hobby. My therapist was like, you know, Mariah, you need to get a life. And I promise all the things that he's doing or not doing is not going to seem so serious. So fast forward, just to go through the different transitions, I ended up getting laid off a couple months before our wedding. And that within itself was a whole process and seeing me through these different stages. So seeing me through being really, really busy, a director, all these people reporting up to me, to then getting a job, which I thought was going to be like not my dream job, but I'm going to be, you know, more relaxed, still making a lot of money, really excited, get to try these new things, end up not loving it at all, to then getting laid off. And this is like the core of our relation, like the middle parts of my our relationship and how I'm showing up, and him having to learn me through all of those stages has definitely been a journey. And then like getting to the last thing I'll say, because I think this is really funny. Now I can laugh about it, but going into our honeymoon, I'm a spender. Okay. I'm a big spender. I love to spend money. And I'm like, even when we got together, he'd be like, why do you spend so much money? I'm like, convenience, throw it away. So like there's no 50-50 over here. Like whoever spends, we spend. It doesn't matter. I'm not, whatever. I say that to say, I like working and I like making my own money. He pays for anything I ask him to, or don't even have to ask, but I like making my own money and I like to treat him. So now I'm laid off. I have some savings and we're in our honeymoon and he's just been like planning so many things. So I'm like, I'm gonna, I like worked out, I budgeted out this like whole spa day for us. And I have, I'm on a fixed income now. And I'm just like, okay, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're gonna do. And he was like so excited. Everything was just like so beautiful. We get to the end to pay, and I'm like, no, I got it. Like I've already worked out everything in my head. Whereas before, it doesn't even matter how much it costs. I'm just like swiping. But I've worked all this stuff out. And so the lady ends up saying that it was double, oh no, triple what she told me. So remember, it was supposed to be like $400-$500, and it was like
12.
Yes, 1,200, 1,300 with taxes and everything. And I remember he's like, don't like, it's good. Like I got, and I'm like, no, because in my mind I had like already made this up. So I pay. We're walking out, and he was like, Mariah, like, don't worry about it, And I bust out into tears, and I was just like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but this is just not about you at all. I have not been in this position in so many years, and absolutely, do I know you can afford it? Can you pay for it? But for me to want to do something nice for you and then to not be able to, it was crushing to me because it was just, oh, hey, you're broke. And that was like really crushing to me for somebody who has put herself in a different position for so many years. And I was like, I don't know, this is just not about you. So all of these different stages he's had to see me through and have to learn to work and adjust through them, because in his mind, oh, I got it. And I'm like, no, this is not about you.
Yeah, well, yeah, in response to that, like, I think the mindset that I had, like, even when I first met her and she told me what she was doing, I'm like, okay, well, one, like, just understand, like, I like you for you. I don't want nothing from you. So whatever we do, like, just know that, like, I'm good. So then when she got laid off, it was a shock. And then like seeing like how, she was like changing was like definitely like eye opening. But at the same time, then understanding that when, like, I'm the type, like, if I make a promise, I got to keep it. And there was a period in time where I told her, like, you don't have to worry about anything. Like, I'll take care of it. So then knowing like, all right, it's about to get real. It was stressful, but at the same time, like, I'm a man of my word, and I just tried to make sure that, things were taken care of. So like, even in that moment, I didn't want her to worry about it, because at the end of the day, like, I got it. But then having to take a step back, understand like it's deeper than that. It's part of her own self-identity and who she is as a person. Like, naturally, like, she's giving. That's kind of like what drew me to, like, her intention. How, like, my friends said all the time, like, I used to say, like, she can't be this nice. There's no way in hell she's this nice. Like, there has to be a flaw. Again, remember my bad habits, looking for things, but then just kind of like having to accept, like, yeah, like, this is just her. So like, even with all the craziness and stuff that she was going through, like, yeah, it was deeper, and just having to understand that, and then learning how to kind of like, one, be a cheerleader, to kind of like encourage her to make sure that, she's better than what she believes herself to be. And then kind of just saying, like, remind yourself of who you are.
Yeah.
That's what's most important, because, you get lost in certain things because things don't go your way. I have this saying, like, life's not about what happens to you. It's all about how you react to it.
I don't think that's your saying.
That is my saying. Well,
I mean, you heard it here first.
You could have said your other one. That one I give you.
Oh, the life one?
No, progress is the process.
That too.
He says that to me all the time, and it's a good reminder. You can coin that one, I think.
Well, I mean, we should probably archive that and then go to the patent place right now.
Yes, I think so.
You're welcome.
I think so.
And
go ahead, Stephen. You can ignore us.
So I will wrap things up with this last question for now. What are you most excited about? Oh, it's a two-parter. I did it. What are you most excited about for the next 5 years?
I'm excited about how we've challenged each other and pushed each other to be better, to step outside of our comfort zone. So continue in doing that. And then I'm very excited to be, at that point, 6 or 7 years into our 10-year plan to like build financial stability, starting a family, and just like continuing to evolve as a couple and as individuals. Like that's what I'm looking for the next 5 years. Like we're intentionally working on these things right now.
As life goes on, like, life's just one big lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to learn from it. There's no playbook to life. So just seeing, how she grows and how I grow individually and how we grow together as a unit, just making sure that at the end of the day, home's always taken care of and it's us versus the world.
Yes.
Whatever Tupac said.
Yes.
I thought that you had penned that one.
Oh, I mean, listen, you can patent that too.
Okay.
Well, this was different. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you for having me. We'll see how this goes, and maybe I'll be back.
Maybe.
I'm a gift. The gift that keeps on giving. You better tell somebody.
That's something else, but thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for listening. Today we talked about life, love, relationships, and it's a subject that's near and dear to me. And also, happy Black Love Day and happy pre-Valentine's Day. Thanks for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share with a friend, comment below. The Grow in the Middle podcast is produced and edited by Mid-Century Marketing Company. We aim to create engaging and relatable content that helps you chart your own path to grow in the middle. I want to thank our wonderful guests, and especially you, the listener. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to let us know. Until next time.